For the love of Dallas. Building empowered communities by highlighting those who donate their most precious resource, time. Welcome to the show, For the Love of Dallas. I'm your host, Lauren Davis, and we have an exciting episode for you today. With me, we have Jordan Alsup of Cleanup USA. Jordan, thanks. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. What a blessing to be here.
It is. It is. I'm really grateful to have you here. And so I want to just dive right into it because I want you to basically talk the whole time because we got connected and then I came down to where you have your operation and I was just blown away. I could have stayed there all day and just continued to hear your testimony. So you call yourself the Chief Foot Washer. So first I want to know about that.
Yeah, so it's a title that I gave myself. It's I didn't feel like I was a founder because God, it was His idea, it was all His, and so I'm a servant. Just like Jesus is they call Him the Son, He's actually the servant of God, and so I just wanted to be a servant. And how do I do that? What was the first thing that I wanted to do? I wanted to wash feet, and I just remember during COVID when, because cleanup started in May of 2020, walking around with a spray bottle and some Dial soap and a rag and just asking neighbors, can I wash your feet? Would this be helpful if I could do this? Because we didn't have our first unit yet to provide showers. And so what can I do now? Can I provide foot care? Can I give you a fresh pair of socks? Would that be okay? And so I wanted to lead by example, so.
Wow. Okay. So Chief Foot Washer, that is just incredible. So you've given your life over to service from all that I can tell. May 2020, you said cleanup started. Yeah. I want the audience to know, and I want to know more about just how did that come to be? Whatever you want to share with us, but how does one go to walking around with Dial soap and a water bottle to wash people's feet? I have to know more.
Yeah, for a long time, about a decade, I wasn't a very nice person. I was very just rebellious on the inside. I wanted to help people, but I didn't know how. And so for 5 years, I worked at a hospital because I figured I can help people there. I could do something there. But it wasn't right. It wasn't what I was made for. And so I was searching. And as I was searching, I was hurting those who were near to me because I wasn't doing what I was made to do. Mm-hmm. And then I just remember April 22nd of 2018 is when I had a heart and a life transformation where God really just captivated me. And I just remember that day. It was about 6 o'clock in the morning. I was at one of my lowest points in life. And I just remember God asking me a question. Do you want to do things different today? And I was just, yes, thank you for asking. And so from then there was just a journey where I wanted to know who I was. How did God make me? Why did you make me this way? And I was a small business owner and from 2019 to 2020 and COVID happened and business went south. And I just remember in my gut in May of 2020, everyone's complaining about business. Everyone's complaining about finances. Yep. Everyone's complaining about that. Rightfully so. Yep. We should do that. But I wanted to ask a different question, and so I just asked God, what's on your heart? Would you be willing to share with me what's on your heart if I'm willing to do something about it? And I just remember in that moment, because it was about 1 a.m.
That's a beautiful question. I don't know if I know anyone else who has asked a question like that. And many times I've heard questions are the answer. Yeah. And you asked like a really good question.
Yeah. And it was 1 o'clock in the morning. I was walking around a park near the house that I was staying in at the time. And I just remember him just saying, please sit down. And from 1 a.m. to about 4:30 in the morning, I had my iPad with me just in case, because I always walked and I was ready in case something came to me. And then for about 3.5, 4 hours, God just told me what was on his heart. But then whenever he was done sharing with me, I just remember in that moment, how personal that he shared with me. Mm-hmm. And that if I shared something so personal with someone else, would I want that person to do nothing? Would I want that person to just listen, No, I want you to take action. And so I just knew in that moment I had action to take. And there's a verse in Psalms where it talks about that we have the ability to break God's heart. And I knew for a decade that I just broke God's heart because I was malfunctioning. I was not doing what I was created to do. And I knew that he shared something personal. He's already gifted me the abilities to handle it. Am I going to do something? And so in that moment, I'm not going to break your heart. I did that for a long time, and I don't want to do that anymore. And so that's how I threw myself in, is that it's already all there. You wouldn't tell me something so personal and then not give me the skills and the ability to do it, you know?
Wow. Have you always been this faithful? What has been your faith journey? I feel like sometimes, at least in my own life and then other people I've talked to, we compare our current situation, you know, which might not be so great to someone's like end, you know, and we never really ask too much about the journey. What is your faith journey been like? Like, how did you get to the point where you had the inclination to not ask what God could do for you, but for you to ask what was on God's heart? I've just never heard that before, and it's so profound.
Yeah. Well, all in Scripture, you see God is in pursuit of man. He's looking for anyone who's willing to partner with him. And I knew growing up, my mom was a children's pastor and my dad was a deacon at the church, and I knew right from wrong. I knew it, but I had been wounded. I had lots of people who I trusted that came in and out of my life, and then I developed these trust issues where I didn't trust anyone, including God. And I began to distance myself from people and from God, from community and from my Creator. And so what happened is a lot of people will see me now and say, you're so steadfast, you're so faithful. And I'm like, yeah, well, I'm the same exact person, but a decade ago I was called stubborn. It's the same giftings and abilities, just one is used for good and one isn't. And so same thing with Paul the Apostle. Paul the Apostle was the same guy. He's so zealous and he's so passionate. But in one moment, he's zealous and passionate against God, and the other, he's zealous and passionate for God. I don't want to change who you are. I just remember God doing, I don't want to change who you are. I love who you are. Can you just do it? Can we be together on this?
Oh, wow.
So
that's beautiful. I just love that so much. I could just cry right now.
Yeah.
Okay, when we were talking the other day when I came out to see you, like you said something that was so profound. It just got me in the gut. And you have those moments in time where like things just hit you, and it's usually the most simple thing. And you said something so simple but so profound, and it was about being a good neighbor. You call everyone you serve a neighbor, and we'll get into more about like the range of people you serve, which I was so like profoundly struck by. But to be a neighbor, you said very specifically, it's not just being a good neighbor, but you have to give and receive.
Yeah.
And so I'm not even going to say anything else and be quiet. I want you to try and take us back to that conversation, because I just have to know more, and I want all of our audience to know more.
For sure. So the thing about, there's a parable in Scripture where an attorney basically comes to Jesus and he asks him, what does it take? Who is my neighbor? Right? And Jesus' reply is, he tells the story of the Good Samaritan, but at the end of the story, he says, you need to be a neighbor. I'm not going to tell you who your neighbor is, because it's everyone.
Right.
But the main choice you need to make is you need to be a neighbor. You need to be neighborly. Because if you are a neighbor, if I wake up today and I choose, I'm a neighbor, then I'm willing to receive from anyone that comes to me. But I'm also willing to give to anyone who comes to me. And so there's two sayings that cleanup is really founded on, and it's all neighbors welcome. First and foremost, if you're willing to receive, we're willing to give, okay? But the second one is you need to choose to be a neighbor. Everyone, because you need to choose to receive. We're all made to receive. God is the eternal bestower, and so he's made everything and everyone to receive. From a deer that's eating the grass that he gave, from a human that receives sunlight, vitamin D, we're all made to receive. But we're also made in his image, so we're made to give. And so that's where not only do we need to receive and choose to be neighborly, receive from those around you. Receive. You gifted me this opportunity to be here. I need to receive this. But I also need to be a neighbor back and give back.
Gosh, it's so beautiful. I think of all the times where I personally have a hard time receiving, and I'm like, what do I need to think about and ask God about on the receiving? I think that's why it struck me so intensely, is because I've never really thought about if I'm a good neighbor or not. And I would probably say, sure, I would do anything for you, but would I receive anything? Do I sometimes think, oh, I've got it all figured out.
Right.
I don't need anything. To not need can keep you from being a neighbor.
Totally true.
And receiving from people from all walks of life too, and believing that you have something to receive from anybody, whether it be our homeless, neighbors on the street, to someone who appears to have it all together. And I say appears because we all know we don't always know what's on the inside of someone's heart or happening in their life, but to be able to receive, like, that is just such a profound concept, and I think it's overlooked. I really do. Yes,
for sure. And just to really hammer it home, if you're only looking for neighbors, then you're only going to look down. You're only going to look down. But if you're choosing to be a neighbor, then you're willing to look up, because somebody's going to bring down to you. So there's always this link up and down. And so what happens is if we get it all the time. Jordan, who does cleanup serve? We serve neighbors. Oh, so you serve, the poor? You serve homeless? Well, of course we do. But I'll serve you if you get in line. Whoever's asking me the question.
Will you get in line?
Yeah,
will you get in line?
Are you willing to receive? Then I'll serve you too. It doesn't matter to me, And the fact is part of what cleanup does is, yes, we love serving and we want to serve anywhere and everywhere, but we really want to shatter what it is, the need and desire to receive and what that looks like, And part of that is choosing to be a neighbor. When I make a decision today, I'm a neighbor. Whatever comes my way, I'm willing to receive it. Then I'm willing to look up and realize I'm below someone.
Yeah.
But if I'm only looking to be neighborly, then I'm always looking down.
You're always above. Yeah, that is, I just love that. And I think, our show is very specific to Dallas for the love of Dallas. Yeah. And there's a lot of wonderful things in Dallas, and there's a lot of problems in Dallas. There's a massive amount of suffering in Dallas. Obviously, you see that on a day-to-day basis and across the whole Metroplex. Yeah. And I think, if Dallas could become like the neighborliest city and county in the world, like, we would ultimately be the best city on the planet.
Heck
because I hear stories, I've seen things, and people feel divided. And if the CEO can get in line for a haircut at the cleanup bus with the homeless neighbor, that's when we've won.
Yes.
When we are in harmony, giving and receiving at all levels of where people are at in life, all at one time.
Yeah, for sure.
I think Dallas has the potential to do that. I mean, this show is interviewing people who have given their life to service, donating their time. We don't say volunteer anymore because we want to elevate the idea of giving your time. You're shattering what it means to give and receive. And I'm attempting to shatter what it means to give of your time. I want people to give their time. I want them to be connected to you as a man who has given their life over. I want people to be inspired to give their time and their life over to service. And that might mean dropping everything you do, like you did. You're a very, extreme example of turning your life over, but you can turn parts of your day over.
Sure.
You can turn parts of your weekend over. You can turn your family over to service on Sundays.
Yeah.
So I just am so inspired by your story. I think it's just so unique. That question of what is on God's heart. I think that is like the most tender, beautiful question I think I've ever heard in my life.
Thank you.
So I'm just so excited to know you, and this part is just all about you. And so is there anything else that you feel like is part of your story that you want people to know about you?
You know, probably the biggest thing is there's always room for redemption. You know, oftentimes as we're interacting with neighbors of all walks of life, I mean, you said that there's suffering all through Dallas. When we realize that everyone's suffering differently from us, you know, suffering looks differently to me than it looks different to you. It looks different to our neighbors at Austin Street versus that are here, you know. And so suffering's different everywhere. And so if we're willing to be a part of that, unity does not mean oneness, sameness.
Yeah.
Unity means you bring your puzzle piece, I bring mine, and together there's a mosaic that gets put forth. And so I'm a firm believer with you that Dallas has all the ability, all the pieces are there. They're already in place for this mosaic of just neighborly activity to take place.
Yes, I love it. I love it. Okay, well, we're going to take a quick break and go and bring in our co-host Ben to meet Jordan and talk a little bit more about cleanup and how you can get involved. Hey guys, Ben and Lauren here again to tell you about another line from Rascal Man. It is a face line. Men, Ben, you know this. You should be exfoliating and washing your face and moisturizing.
We just don't do it, though. We don't do it.
No, you don't. And ladies, I'm here to tell you, buy it for your man, make him wear it. And the number one thing that they should add to their routine is eye cream. Eye cream. Ben, did you use eye cream this morning?
Admittedly, I didn't. I usually do, but I did not do it this morning.
Well,
are you going to help me out?
Yeah, I'm just going to embarrass you right here on the show. Women, don't let your men walk out with bags and dark circles under their eyes. And Ben, remember, don't manhandle it here.
Okay.
Dab it in real light.
Yep, I got it. Ain't my first rodeo. Got this.
And they instantly go away. So go to rascalman.com or the Jen's Place and pick up your products today. Okay, we're back with my co-host, Ben, my lovely husband, and our guest, Jordan Alsup with Cleanup. And we are ready to dive into it. Cleanup is such a vast organization. You do so many things. So can you start off this segment with telling us about Cleanup in about 1 minute, if that's even possible?
Yeah. So Cleanup has 7 really avenues of service. We're 100% mobile. We transform school buses into mobile environments. We really want to serve in a specific way, but we don't want to just do something. We want to invite neighbors into an environment. So we have a barber shop, a classroom, a clinic, showers, a lounge, which is kind of like a Starbucks for adults, place to feel comfortable and safe to work. And so we're really looking to do that. We're transforming how we serve and how it is to receive. And we're just everywhere. We're all over the place.
That's awesome. Well, we're in the barbershop business with you, right?
Yes.
So we've got our own brick and mortar retail stores, and we do some donating of our time at Austin Street, which you had mentioned, Haircuts for Homeless.
Yeah,
and man, transformative experience serving people in the beauty industry. And it's really touched our hearts, just being able to give someone a good haircut.
Yeah.
We found gives them their dignity back. Like, how did you? Because you're not a barber by trade, right?
No.
Okay,
not at all.
so how did Jordan end up becoming a barber / hairdresser extraordinaire?
Yes, that's a great story. So for the first couple of months of Cleanup, I knew that haircuts was probably the easiest thing to begin doing, and I didn't have anyone there serving with me. It was just me. And so I was praying every day, God, send a barber, send a stylist, send someone, anybody, it doesn't matter, to come and help me. And I just remember one day after about 2 months, there was a set of clippers that had already been donated, a couple of weeks ago. And God just firmly say, I've sent you clippers, get to work. And it was just like, oh, okay. It's like that. All right. And so even still, when I go out and serve, it's just, I know that this is what I can do. I would love for individuals to come join, but I'm only in charge of me. And so as long as I go, then others are going to be willing to go.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's awesome.
That's so funny. You know what? God hasn't delivered any clippers to our house,
no,
so you're safe.
I'm a little concerned that might happen to me.
You just maybe pray a different prayer. That is just, that's incredible. Your ability and inclination to take action is quite extraordinary. I'm sure at times you probably don't feel that way, but I'm telling you from the outside, it's extraordinary to see you take so much action and to be so concerned and responsible with yourself and what you have to give. I feel like sometimes, in our worlds and in Dallas, we're always looking around, you do this, you do that, or what can the government do for me? Like, what can everyone else do for me? And you are on this mission with cleanup to do what you can do, and you just commit to doing it your best.
Yes.
Like, that's extraordinary.
Yeah. And I love whenever cleanup is serving, and so we'll have our barbershop bus. And again, it's a wonderful experience, but when you're in the barbershop bus, every now and then you'll get a question like, hey, can you get me off the street? I'm like, what I can do today is give you a haircut.
Yeah.
That's what I'm capable of doing today. This is the ability and what I have to give you now. Do you want to receive that? If so, then yes, then wonderful. We have a partnership. If not, then I can't give you that, because that's not my role in this doing good and being a neighbor. That's not my role. This is what I can do.
Wow, that's really profound. So I've done some work within the homeless community in an outreach capacity, along with our ministry that we do with our partners. And I found, I don't know if everyone's going to agree with this statement, but this is my observation within trying to solve this homeless issue, we'll call it.
Sure.
And we're talking about working with humans.
Sure.
They're coming from all walks of life, and they might come to you and say, like, as you've said, well, I want off the street. And you're like, I have a haircut to give.
Yeah.
Are you willing to receive? And I think restoring that light, knowing our lane with solving the problem, because we cannot be everything to everyone. And the more we try to be everything to everyone, we will fail and water down the mission that God has given us. And I see, our city government coming in, trying to solve all the problems. I see certain organizations trying to solve all the problem. And I just wonder if everybody knew their lane like you did, would the problem get solved by our collective actions?
Yeah.
I just wonder sometimes. I mean, we have to know our lane and be good at that and do our best.
Well, so on that note too, every organization's got priorities.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're trying to do a certain number of haircuts a year, if you're getting more, buses that you're trying to convert.
Yeah.
But in terms of staying in your lane, sounds like what the mission that you're on, what God has called you to do.
Sure.
Like over the next 12 months, what are you focused on doing?
Probably the first thing we're focused on is we want to replicate what we're already doing well. So we have those 7 key avenues of service we want to replicate, because again, right now we have one barbershop bus, and we would love to have more than one, so that way we can serve different parts of the community at the same time, and we don't have to just come by once a month to this area, because that's we get so many requests that we schedule 120 days out right now where we serve. So today, where we're going to be at in downtown Dallas, we scheduled 120 days ago.
Wow.
Because we have so many requests. So we would love to replicate. That's first and foremost. What we're already doing well, we've tried and proven, built relationships. Can we just come around more often? I would love that. The second thing is we are penetrating into the education. So Cleanup started the Cleanup Academy, kind of out of the thin air. It felt like in January, where we partnered with some local charter schools where they are gifting Cleanup their online curriculum so that we can provide free education from kindergarten to 12th grade up to the age of 52, right? And so there's a huge need everywhere for that, but there's a specific environment that we want to get to. That's a way bigger topic than what we have here for today to discuss. But every county has an area with children that are not being served and they're not going to class. And we not only want to change that, we want to bring a classroom environment there. And so there's 100 classrooms that it's our goal to not only receive the resources for, but to make and produce this year, so that these children that are about 12 to 18 can now receive their education.
Is that so they would be physically going to your unit, your bus, to receive that education? Is that how that would work?
Yeah, so these individual classrooms would be designated for an area. So Monday through Friday, these specific children, which are termed royalty kids, they're in the foster system, that have been pulled out and now are in a hotel system, basically just sitting, waiting to age out, and not go into class. We want to take a classroom and say, you're not only going to get the best education that you can get, we're going to bring it to you in an environment that's conducive and loving and caring, that says you're more than enough, and that we want to kickstart you. We want to transform whatever's been done in the past.
That's amazing.
Wow.
And they'll get a haircut too.
Yeah, whatever.
Whatever they need.
What else you need? Yeah.
I was really struck when we had this conversation when we met out at your facility, that these children are essentially sort of lost in the system. I mean, they don't have a home. They're in a group situation in hotels with no parents and caseworkers essentially managing their day to day, and they're not going to class.
Yeah.
I just can't even imagine how lonely that is. I think you're meeting such an incredible need, and maybe they're not homeless per se, right? But they're the ones that age out and are at very high risk of being trafficked or becoming homeless on the street. So you're really meeting a need to help prevent further need of your services.
Once the connection on top of the education, I think is what you're talking about too, is like education's important, but that social connection, we're on this planet, God put us here to connect with each other and give and receive from each other, as you talked about. So just getting them out of that lonely environment. Meeting with other kids and teachers and all of that, I think it's really special. I think it's really great.
So you're trying to do 100 buses? 100 individual buses?
Yes, it's a very lofty goal.
That's huge.
It's very attainable because there's already so many pieces that are in play. I mean, getting the buses isn't a big deal. I mean, I could make a phone call and somebody could deliver 100 buses. That's not the problem.
How much does 100 buses cost?
Well, if you buy them in bulk, you get a much better deal. But I mean, school buses now, depending upon age and things like that, just the bus alone is going to cost anywhere between $5,000 to $6,000. But then the transformation process, to not let it be that there's an environment on the inside, that's another, $5,000 to $8,000, depending upon where it's going and what age range you're doing on the back end. But it's so attainable. And it's one of these things where, again, if there's a small business or whatever, you can say, I want to contribute this cleanup classroom to this county, and it's small and manageable for you. It's not everybody has to do the whole thing.
Okay, so speaking of money, because we got to wrap up here, we like to ask our audience to help out. So clearly it takes money to do what you do to achieve your mission. We got to buy buses. We got to outfit the buses. We encourage our audience to donate time. That's what everybody here, we want you coming out to serve, because that's one thing we all have an equal amount of is time.
Totally.
Can you talk a little bit more about what volunteers you need, when you need them, what they would be doing if we're asking our audience to go out there and serve the community with you?
Yeah, so we ask cleanup volunteers to serve 6 times a year. That's it. We don't want 7. We don't want 5. If you can find a way to serve 6 times in a calendar year, shove them all into 1 month, do them during the summer, whatever's easier for you, 6 times. Now, a volunteer event generally lasts 90 minutes to about 3 hours, depending upon if we're at a facility or if we're doing more of a strategic outreach. So it's not that long a time frame. We put our calendar out a month in advance. We operate 6 days a week. Thursday is our Sabbath every week, so we don't do anything on Thursday. So there's opportunities all throughout the day, mornings and afternoons. Calendar gets put out a month in advance, and so it's fairly simple for you just to pick what's convenient for you. Whether it's, I want to see the end user, I want to know where my time is going to serve. Wonderful. There's a lot of neighbors, us, who are looking to serve, who don't want to see that, right? That just, I can't handle that. It's too much. Okay, well, wonderful. We have opportunities. We have to give things away. And so we need to pack these snack bags that we call cleanup kits, or we need to sort clothes. Every week we have sorting clothes events where all we do is we sort men's to women's, and then from size small to 5X, put them in bags. That way, when the closet is ready, we can just grab a bag. Oh, we need a bag of men's large. Well, you go grab a men's large and put hangers on it. There you go. So there's lots of things to do.
Wow. That's fantastic. I think that's so great, because sometimes I remember when I was first volunteering within the homeless community, I was really uncomfortable, and now I'm 5 years into it, and I feel part of the community now, and I think about that, I reflect on that and go, gosh, you know, it's taken a long time, but I've come so far. I used to be so nervous. What do you say to people in this situation? Or you feel guilty about where you're at in life, and then maybe feel like, you know, you can't deserve. So I am just so encouraged and so excited about just your overall underlying mission of being a neighbor. I really think Dallas has it in her to be the best neighbor in the whole United States. And I think you're going to be the catalyst of that. I hope people take away from this, you know, how they can get involved. I want you to go over your websites and where do we find the calendar. But I want people to leave this saying, am I a neighbor? Am I a full neighbor? Not just a neighbor to someone else. Am I a full neighbor? Am I receiving from my community? And what does that look like? So tell us how we can find that calendar and commit to our six times donating.
Right. Yeah. So on all social medias, it's just Clean Up USA, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok. Those are just Clean Up USA. And then the website's cleanupusa.org. Calendar goes out the first of every month. And so, and there's a lot of consistency. You'll see that there's certain places that we go to the second Tuesday of every month. We're going to be in the same spot because, again, we want to be consistent in how we serve and where we serve.
Awesome.
So.
That's so awesome. Okay. Well, I'm going to commit to my 6 times because I've got to see, you know, more of this in action. And I just thank you, Jordan, for being with us. Thanks, Ben, for being such a great co-host always. You know, and I hope my prayer for you today is that you were as struck as I was about being a neighbor. I am making a commitment today to be a full neighbor, one that gives and receives. So I'm going to make a commitment to start receiving more. And I just appreciate you, Jordan, for inspiring me to do that. So thanks for another great episode, and go to cleanup.org and give your
cleanupusa.org.
Cleanupusa.org. Thank you. Cleanup USA. Yes, because the vision is much bigger. We said USA. Yeah. Yes. Cleanupusa.org, and donate your 6 times. Do it in a month, as Jordan said, or do it in a year, but just get it done.
Yeah.
Thank you for being with us for the love of Dallas.